I actually was somewhat looking forward to watching and reviewing Postal, despite the fact that this is yet another adaptation by Uwe Boll. You know, in some ways, Uwe Boll is kind of a dick. He turns video games into trashy movies, but insists that they're great, and that anyone who disagrees with him should subject themselves to a boxing match with him. He also is rather vicious and inappropriate towards his critics, usually calling them fucking retards while claiming he has a doctorate. But in some ways, I have to admire his moxie. He just doesn't give a shit and continues to do his thing no matter what is thrown at him. He's like a modern-day Ed Wood. That being said, I had to admire him for making Postal. Firstly, this is exactly up his alley, as the game Postal has no plot, no backstory, nothing. The main character doesn't even have a name. He's referred to as only the Postal Dude, and the entire thing is about killing people who fuck with you in a shitty town called Paradise, where everything goes wrong. It's exactly the sort of game that Uwe Boll should be adapting. Also, unlike House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, and Blood Rain, which took themselves rather seriously, if not competently, Postal is a straight-up comedy, nothing more, nothing less. And it's the sort of comedy that is not only known for being offensive, but it celebrates this. Right on the poster it says, some comedies go too far, this one starts off that way. And boy, did he live up to that. Lastly, I have to mention before getting into the movie, that this is one of the rare cases where the game's creators were on board with the whole Uwe Boll thing, as they sought him out to adapt the game, and supported the project. And Vince Desi, who created Postal, even shows up in the movie, as does Uwe Boll, who has also appeared as himself in the latest Postal game, Postal 3. So that being said, I walked into this with a completely open mind, willing to forget his past transgressions and enjoy the movie for what it is. I've heard bad reviews, I've heard good reviews, and I've seen a clip or two online, but I was fully prepared to give this a fair chance. And you know what? Postal is actually kind of good. The plot is exactly what you'd expect. Zach Ward plays the Postal Dude, and everything is going wrong for him. He's living in a trailer with his fat wife, who spends her day eating and screwing everyone who is willing. He got laid off from his job and tries to get another one, but the company he interviews with seems to just be trolling him. He's hassled by random people and becomes embroiled in a plot by his uncle, who is in serious financial trouble with the IRS, to steal a bunch of toys called Crotchy Dolls. The toys are based on a popular cartoon where the character is played by Vern Troyer, who shows up in the movie later on, and a huge shipment of them sunk, so the only ones left are going for insane prices on the internet. His uncle's plan is to steal them and sell them, but unfortunately for them, a group of Taliban terrorists are also doing the same thing. Shit gets crazy at a German festival with celebrity guests Vern Troyer and Uwe Boll. Uwe Boll is attacked by Vince Desi, who is screaming at him for making a shitty movie out of Postal, and a gunfight breaks out, where you have cops, terrorists, the Postal guy, and some random people all shooting at each other, which only gets a bunch of kids killed. The dude's uncle is also the leader of a doomsday cult, which he started to get laid, and his second-in-command takes his prophecy stuff seriously and wants to bring about the end of the world. The Taliban want the Crotchy Dolls to hide swine flu in and infect the rest of America, and the cult want to do the same thing, only on a global scale. The Postal Dude, who is now completely snapped, is on a mission to stop the global plague, as well as getting revenge on all the people who wronged him. The movie pulls absolutely no punches. The very first scene is a 9/11 joke, and it just continues from there. Kids get shot to death, a cop shoots an old lady in the face, a baby in a stroller gets run over. It's just pure mayhem. But during all this, the movie is actually funny. But I digress. If you don't have the kind of sense of humor for it, it won't come off as funny, but just blatantly offensive for its own sake. Personally, I like humor that says fuck boundaries and is blatantly balls out and politically incorrect. Because fuck being politically correct, that's for pansies. I mean, how can you not love it when Uwe Boll gets on stage and announces that his movies are funded by Nazi gold and that the sight of all the children in the crowd is making him horny, and then he gets shot in the dick and says with his dying breath that he hates video games? The guy knows he's become a joke, and he's like, fuck it, if I'm going to be a joke, I'm at least going to be a funny one. I really have to hand it to him. It almost makes up for Blood Rain. Almost. In the end, all I have to say is that if you're sensitive, stay away from this movie. But if you like over-the-top violence, crude and blatantly offensive humor, and a strong sense of self-parody, then it's definitely a very funny movie. It's not for everybody, that's for damn sure. But one review that I had seen called it a live-action South Park. And you know, Rod, that's really not all that far off, because nothing is sacred and everything gets blasted to smithereens. Now, I have to qualify that statement, however. I said it's not that far off. But it's not exactly the mark either, as Postal is not nearly as smart or witty as South Park. There's really no social commentary here, it's just out-and-out mayhem, just like the game. Maybe Uwe Boll's body of work overall is shitty, but for this one moment at least, he hit the nail on the head. Not everything about Postal is great, and as I said, it's not for sensitive types, but it's definitely more good than bad. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of a possible 10.